Have you ever nailed a catfish to the barn door and then tried to skin it with a pair of pliers like Grandpa used to? I got a new way. I think you'll like what we're about to do. We're going to show you how to fillet a cat, and it doesn't take very long, just a few minutes, just a few seconds, actually, probably a minute. And you end up with a fillet. You lose less than 3 or 4% of the meat. Let me show you. See those ribs right there? All right, you make your cut right along, right there, right along the ribs, down to the front of that back tail, and kind of work your knife around like so. Come back all along. You're running it along the backbone right now, and to here. You stop here, you flip the fillet over, and you keep going like this, and fillet it, and skin it almost all in one motion you can. Here you are. You've got a fillet, all meat. You haven't lost but about 4 or 5% of the fish. You turn it over, and you look for that same rib bones on the other side. All right, you make a cut down here. There's a little bit of meat up in here, but not too much. And you make that cut back to that tailbone. You come around like this. You flip the fillet over, and you keep going with, you can just flip it over with a knife, but we've slowed it down a little bit so you see what I'm doing. There you go. There's your fillet. You haven't lost hardly any meat at all, and you give the rest to your favorite Labrador. Waldo, would you like that? Oh, yes, he says that is his favorite piece of... He's got dinner now, too. You feed your dogs, folks. Can't beat it. I want you to try that. Comes out solid meat, no bones, and you don't have to beat the barn door around. If I had one bait to use, and only one bait that I could use, I'd use frozen chicken liver. The acids break down in it when you freeze it. It scents better, and it'll catch many more catfish. Plus, it'll stay on the hook a lot better. Now, I buy it in the stores in these little containers, frozen containers, just like you see here, and put it in my coolers. And when I go to take it out, you can take a knife and force it out. Now, this one I've let thaw out. It's still a little bit frozen, but I'm going to drape my hook with it, and I'm going off the current cut. One of the things that shore anglers fail to do often is that they don't get out as far as they can in the river. You want to get out to the farthest point on the river where the current's going around. Don't go in along the eddy and cast out into the river. Go out on the farthest point that you can find, and then work downstream with the stream in a straight lining method. Now, I like to use about 1.5 ounce bait walker, and I'm going to try this spot right here. There we go. We got a fish. I'm out here. If you look at this island, this point, this is a sort of a little island, but it's also a point of land here. And I'm out as far as I can get, and I'm working down along that fast water, edge of that fast water, and that hole there. And that's where you want to be if you're gonna fish from the bank on a river system. I got myself a cat on here. As I said before, too many anglers would go back in there and fish from the bank of because you can set up a lawn chair or something. If you're that lazy, you can set one up here on the rocks. But always go out as far as you can into the current. All right. We got a... Here he comes. Oh, isn't that a nice looking cat? Look at that. Oh, he's so pretty. I'll tell you what. Chicken liver, 1.5 ounce bait walker, and you got it made. Fishing that bait walker in these rocks will help you keep from getting fouled in rocks with egg sinkers or bell sinkers. These are made to walk bottom soft, and they keep your bait up off bottom so you get a lot of current flush. Chicken liver was the bait. It's my favorite. If I had one to use, like I said, that's it. This old guy is fun to catch. Catfish have barbels in the front. They would take the place of your nose. They're a sensing and smelling device. And you'll notice there's two big ones on the front of the nose like this. They come forward and go over the bait. But as they swim, they fold back. Now there's 4 other sensing devices that they literally come up over a bait, over the top of a bait, put these on them, and they can smell it. That's a smell. And then they have 2 on their top right here that act as smellers too. So scent is very important. Catfish have one other thing that they do real well, and that's they can hear. They hear through vibrations. So a cat has an inner ear right here behind the eye that as the cat gets bigger, sometimes there'll be a little hole. But this 3 to 4 pound fish, there isn't a hole there. The other thing is they hear and sense sound and vibrations with their air bladder inside. But probably most important is along here is a lateral line. On both sides of the fish is a lateral line. And that is his key sense of vibration and sound. So when you're fishing cats, it's vitally important that you remember not to beat on the bottom of the boat and so on, because they do hear vibrations and they can hear sound. There's something else you've got to remember. Normally in the north, these fish grow at about a half a pound a year. In some of the rivers where they're new to the species, they'll grow a pound. This fish here is, say he's 5 pounds, he's about 5 years old. But in the south, he could be as much as 10 pounds. So you got to keep that in mind. One other thing while we're talking about cats, remember the difference, it's hard to tell a difference between a blue and a channel, with the exception that this back fin on a blue comes up high, comes up real high right here. And he actually has a bump in his back, and he has a more bluish tint, where this fish is a little more greenish and olive. And may have blue small males when they're spawning. On spawn, they'll be turned almost a blue. So don't confuse a blue and a channel. But always remember, you can tell the difference by the hump that's on his back. Flatheads, and all the other thing is that both the blue and the channel have forked tails. They both have forked tails, where the flathead, if you remember earlier in the video when we were fishing flatheads, it has an eel-like tail which is rounded on the back, and a very pronounced flat head. Jugging is done all over the South, but it's illegal in some northern states. So if you're going to jug, remember you've got to check with your game laws. But I think all the way from Iowa south, Illinois south, fellas like to use jugging. It's a unique technique for catching all types of catfish. There's a great misconception that catfish, all species, are bottom feeders. That's not so. I learned a lesson a long time ago on the Alabama River about jugging. The Alabama, where we were jugging with 3-foot lines, was 20 feet deep, and we caught all 3 species, flatheads, blues, and channels, up suspended in that dirty old water on the Alabama River. So jugging can be an intricate part of your channel cat, blue, or flat cat fishing. Now, today, they've got some modern type jugs that are kind of unique. But when I first started jugging years ago, we were using Hylex bottles, old motor cans, anything that would float down the river ahead of you, you could tie a line to that would work as a float. But today, with this new type of jugs, you've got it made. I'll tell you what, they've got a handle on it, which is unique when you pull the fish in. And what I do to rig them is that I put a very heavy pest line with a sinker on it, and then form a loop. And the hooks that you use can it can be a variety of hooks. If you're using real big chunk bait, you go to about a number 8/0. You can go all the way down to trebles or singles, down into the number 4s or the number 6s. But I like to pre-rig my jugs, such as you see here, with this heavy line with a sinker on it. Then I take a piece of monofilament, form a loop on the monofilament, form a loop on the jug line, put the 2 in like this, and all you do is run the hook back through the loop, and you're all set. You've got your jugging rig made up for you. And that's about 4 feet. That's all you'll need. I got a jug over here that's run away from the other 6. See it over there? And I don't know what's on it. Something's on it. It's sticking pretty close to into shore and into rocky area. I think we've got a cat on it. I don't know how big, but we'll go look at it. And look at him swim upstream with it. Sometimes these jugs you get a 20-pounder on there, and they run like crazy. Now, that's the reason that handle is on that thing. Look at here, we got one. Mr. Cat. He's been fighting that jug for quite a while. I tell you, it's a lot of fun to fish a jug. Whoop, before I get into the rocks here, it's a lot of fun to fish jugs. Oh my gosh, he just got off. He'd pull that hook almost out fighting that jug. I'd noticed that it had run way over there by itself. So next time you want to have some fun, if it's legal in your state, I want you to try this jugging. Remember, set this heavy line right here with the sinker on it, form a loop in the bottom, and then make yourself up some extra nylon loops with a hook and a shot on it, or a sinker, and that way you can just hook and attach them and re-rig them every time you go to fish. So he's a pretty nice little fish. Let's show him to you. Caught in a jug. Not as big as some that we catch on jugs, but I think he's good. He'd be a good eater if we wanted him. He's gone.
All right, folks. Now we're going to do it in slow motion for you. If you take your fingers and rub them along the edge of the side of the cat, you'll find that you can feel the rib cage. And you want to start your incision above the rib cage, up near the back of the skull of the cat, and run the knife down, slowly down the edge of the ribs, over the top of the ribs, and on down to the vent right there. Now you've inserted the cut, and you need to now start taking the rest of the fillet off. This way you only lose about 2 or 3% of the meat. And you notice I'm going down the edge of the fish right now with the knife, and I've got my blade of my fillet knife up against the backbone, and I'm filleting it just like you would a walleye. As it comes back all the way to the back, you suddenly you don't want to cut it all the way off. You want to flip the fillet over right here. Now we stop our cut here, and we flip our fillet over. And what we're doing that for is we're going to skin it all in one motion. Now you realize this is in slow motion, so you can easily see what we're doing. Now all of that is meat right there. Now you start after you get your fillet done, you run your knife down the flat of the skin, and you skin the cat at the same time. You kind of use a shuffling motion with your knife and your skin of the cat, just back and forth, and put some pressure on the skin, and that fillet will come all the way off. And there's no bones, it's all meat. And you've only lost about 3 or 4% of the available meat on the fillet. There it is right there. How's that? It's a good looking fillet. Solid meat. Now, once again, we do the same thing on the other side. We run the knife. You see I'm running my fingers over the rib bones. You can feel, there's nothing but guts and belly skin from onto the right there. But I'm feeling where the ribs start, and I'm going to run my knife right over the top of the rib bones up to the back of the head, and then start working the knife back down the fillet. Now I've got to come all the way down with the knife cut to where the vent is. Now I do it just like you'd skin a walleye or anything else. You run the blade down, pressing the blade up against the backbone, and all the way down to where you're going to end up with just the skin attached. Now I've left a couple little things I've got to cut here, little. And you flip it over and continue your fillet. This is an amazing way to clean a catfish. And you got nothing but meat. You got no bones. And no pounding on this barn door or anything like that and pulling the skin off. You notice that I shift both the knife and the skin. I'm moving them both back and forth, working them against each other. That way I'm not cutting through the skin, and I'm keeping the fillet intact. There you got it. It's all done. I've got 2 delicious fillets, and I'm going to hand the carcass to my favorite Labrador and let him eat it. But notice I'm pointing to the area where there might be a little meat left up there in the back of the skull, but very, very little. All the rest of that is just garbage.